Hello, Sandra.
Okay.
Gladys, it's all yours.
Hashuhai, my recording is still there.
Okay.
Sandra, you hear me? You will be unmuted for the whole session.
Gladys, you're echoing.
Well, I'm unmuted.
Don't touch. Don't touch.
Okay, Gladys, you can go ahead. You're on mute, Gladys. Just unmute yourself. Okay, you're good, Gladys.
Yes, my dear, 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, I want to welcome Amy and Eli Hadid, and welcome everybody. Who is Dave Salem? Is the son of Sami? Are you the son of Sami?
Yeah, I'm here
Is that what they
supporting my dad.
chose?
Okay. Okay, that's nice. So nice to see everybody. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Sami. Hello, Sami Salem, our dear speaker from San Francisco. We are from all over the world. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Women Learning Group of the Spanish and Portuguese Synagogue, Montreal. My name is Gladys Perez Mualem, coordinator of the Women Learning Group, a program created by Rabbi Shahar Ornstein following Ladies Bat Mitzvah celebrated 14 years ago. Today is May 3rd, 2023, 12 Iyar 5783. We have a special session today. Our speaker, Mr. Salem, will speak to us from San Francisco about Ben Ish Chai, who gave us a lot of pride. We will enjoy his research and all the information he gives us about Hakham Yosef Hayim. In spite of all the distance, thanks to the Zoom and the new technology. I would like to thank our dear friend Lizette Shashua for introducing us to our wonderful speaker, Sami Salem. Next Wednesday, same day, same hour, and same Zoom, please. We will enjoy the history course. Why do I have an echo? Speaker Sami Surani. He will speak to us behind the survival of the Babylonian Iraqi diaspora. Please join again to learn and enjoy. I am inviting now Lizette Shashua to tell us a short biography of our dear speaker, Sami Salem. Lizette Shashua.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the honor to present our amazing Sami. Sami has been working very hard to be able to translate, get the funds to translate these books, and it's really an honor to present you, Sami. So I'll say Sami's bio. He was born in 1931 in Cairo, Egypt, to Iraqi parents. In 1948, he graduated Victoria College, Cairo, Egypt. From 1948 to 1955, he was employed by the Zilcha Banking Organization in their Cairo, Paris, and New York offices. From 1955 to 1957, he was a draftee in the US Army. 1957 to 1979, he was a stockbroker and arbitrator with various New York firms. In 1979 to 2003, he was self-employed money manager. 2003, Sami Salem retired, and for the last 50 years, Sami has been on the board of the AA Society, Inc., Iraqi American Jewish Community. His talk today will be on Hakham Yosef Hayim, who was born in 1832, passed away in 1909, better known as the Ben Ish Hai, and the 3 volumes of books that were recently published from original manuscripts found among the Iraqi archives that were rescued by the United States Army in 2003 during the invasion of Iraq from the flooded basement of the Mukhabarat. Thank you, Sami. You have been you wore so many different hats in your, you've had so many careers and wore so many different hats. We look forward to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizette. That's a full biography that you read for us so nicely. And I want to thank you again for introducing us to Sami Salem. Thank you. Sami.
Good morning,
Salem,
everybody from San Francisco. Okay. Good morning, everybody from San Francisco.
Good morning.
I
Good
wish to thank
morning.
Gladys, the coordinator of the Women's Learning Group of the Spanish-Portuguese Synagogue of Montreal, for inviting me to talk about Hakham Yosef Hayim, better known as the Ben Ish Hai. For the benefit of those who do not speak Hebrew, it transfers as son of a living man. I wish to acknowledge David Nathaniel, president of the synagogue, as well as Lizette Shashur, who read my biography and suggested that I give this talk. My interest in the Ben Ish Hai was prompted by a call I got from Carol Basri, who asked me to contact Rabbi Raymond Sultan, director of the Sephardic Heritage Museum. Rabbi Sultan informed me that the rabbi curators of the museum had inspected the Iraqi Jewish archives that were rescued by the US Army during the invasion of Iraq in 2003. They determined that there was enough original manuscripts never before known by 2 of Baghdad's greatest rabbis, and enough of these manuscripts enough of these manuscripts will create 7 volumes of books and material that would be of great interest to scholars of Judaism around the world. 3 volumes by Hakham Yosef Hayim, containing his comments on the Torah and some of his sermons, and 4 volumes by Hakham Sadqa Hussein, who was a prolific author of novelli. Incidentally, one of the descendants of Hakham Hussein, Isaac Sadqa, is a member of your congregation. The museum at that time had published the first volume and was looking to the Iraqi Jewish community for the funds for the remaining volumes. It cost $30,000 to edit, translate from Old Hebrew to New Hebrew, and publish 2,000 copies of each volume. Since the contents are very important to scholars of Judaism, copies of these books are donated free of charge to these scholars as well as to the main yeshivas and universities of the world. Just prior to the pandemic, I spoke at your synagogue one Shabbat about the Iraqi Jewish archives. By then, all 3 volumes of Hakham Yosef Hayim had been published, and I donated a set to the synagogue and a set to Rabbi Pinto. Since then, the museum has published the first 2 volumes of Hakham Sadqa Hussein, and the 3rd volume is already in the process. My task now is to raise the money for the last volume. Some of these books have already been distributed to scholars, yeshivot and universities in Israel and the United States, and they have received great praise by all recipients. As a matter of fact, Rabbi Sultan has sent me a picture of a group of Hasidic rabbis around a table with and the copies of the books with them and discussing them. On Monday, September 8th, 2014, the Midrash Ben Ishai of Queens, New York, founded by Rabbi Menashe, who of Iraqi origin but was born in India, it was the 105th anniversary of his death, had a benefit dinner honoring Alice Aboudi, who incidentally happens to be a grandniece of the rabbi. A brief biography of the rabbi, written by a friend of mine, the late Hayim Habusha, was included in the booklet of this event. It is therefore easy for me to plagiarize. During the past 2,500 years of the Babylonian exile, the Jews of Iraq produced great rabbis, scholars, and authors in all fields, but especially in Judaic studies. One of the most distinguished was Hakham Yosef Hayim, born in Baghdad on September 1st, 1834, and died on September 6, 1909, at the age of 75, in the village of Qafil, where the prophet Ezekiel is buried. His father was chief rabbi of Baghdad, and at the age of 6, he was already reading from his father's library. At the age of 10, he left his father's house to study with his uncle, David Hai ben Meir. At 15, he entered the Beit Zilcha Rabbinical Seminary, where he studied under the tutelage of Hakham Abdallah Somech, head of the seminary. At 16, he married Rachel, the niece of his master, Hakham Abdallah Somech. He had a sharp mind, great intelligence, and a wonderful memory. He developed an expertise in all fields, both Judaic and secular. He studied Kabbalah and other esoteric fields. He knew the Talmud and the Poskim by heart and became a treasure house of Jewish knowledge. He authored over 30 books, both religious and secular, and wrote religious poetry. He won fame throughout the Jewish world. He corresponded with authoritative rabbis of Eretz Israel, Salonika, Constantinople, Smyrna, and Aleppo. He was in touch with leading Ashkenazi rabbis, such as Rabbi Abraham Anushki of Vilna, and Rabbi Shneur Zalman and Yosef Shaul ben Rabbi Arya Levush. Upon the death of his father Eliyahu on September 6, 1859, at the age of 25, he became the unofficial leader of the Baghdadian Jewish community. He also became the greatest of the modern-day Sephardim Poskim. Poskim are individuals who receive and respond to halachic inquiries, questions regarding Jewish law. His approach was eclectic. He considered the opinions of both Ashkenazi and Sephardi scholars and insisted that the opinions of the Acharonim, Torah scholars from the 16th century onwards, be considered along with the Talmud, meaning that the Talmud is not the final law, and that changing times and circumstances can change the original interpretations of the law. He delivered a drasha every morning consisting of both halayic, meaning legal, and agadic, meaning non-legal, historical and anecdotal Talmud material. On Shabbat, he sometimes delivered 3-hour sermons. An explanation of the weekly parasha using Kabbalistic ideas, followed by halachic discussions on various topics. The reason he inserted Kabbalistic ideas was because he felt that discussing the raw parasha would be boring to the people, and by including Kabbalistic ideas would be more interesting. He made 2 pilgrimages to Eretz Israel. On the first one, he brought back with him sacks full of sanctified earth, and 2 small stones. The earth was scattered over the floor of the ancient Bet HaKnesset, which was not paved, but built from stones brought over from Eretz Israel by the original exile in the time of Nebuchadnezzar. One of these stones came from the Kotel Hammurabi and was embedded in the wall by the entrance of the Knesset. Chacham Yosef Hayim clashed and excommunicated the reformist Bavarian Jewish scholar Jacob Obermeyer, who lived in Baghdad from 1869 to 1880. Part of the contention was their conflicting views on parts of the Zohar. Few rabbis throughout Jewish history have been called the glory of the generation. Chacham Yosef Hayim of Baghdad was certainly one of them. Versed in all areas of Torah and beloved by all, he was arguably one of the greatest sages of his time. Chacham Yosef Hayim never held an official position in the Jewish community and was known by the title of Il Chacham. The scope of his works are outstanding and dealt with all aspects of the Torah, both revealed and mystic. Incidentally, he never took any salary from the community, and he lived on the earnings of his books, and his brothers were in business, and I believe he was partner with them in that business. Rabbi Yaakov David Ridvaz of Sluks and then Safed said, "A fragrance of sanctity and purity emanates from the works of this Reish Galuta of Babylon." It was said of Chacham Yosef Hayim, "A lion has ascended from Babel, a luminary who shone upon the earth and its inhabitants, like the sun at its zenith. He was a provider of Torah, piety, humility, lovingness, astuteness, incisive brilliance, erudition, and halachic authority. He is buried in Baghdad. The funeral was attended by the entire Jewish community of Baghdad, together with thousands of non-Jews. 7 days of public mourning was decreed. He was eulogized in cities throughout the world: Jerusalem, Europe, Aleppo, Bombay, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. And to conclude, I will read a few extracts from an article by Shabbat. This is just part of an article. He attempted to bridge the gap between the Sephardi and Ashkenazi communities, who often followed widely different practices, By referencing his contemporaries abroad and reflecting on their approaches in his own writings, he felt strongly that Torah scholars needed to show mutual recognition for one another, even when they disagreed, lest their names be forgotten with the passage of time. Chacham Yosef Hayim understood that cut and dry Torah law would not appeal to many, so the bulk of his discourses were coupled with Kabbalah and Agada. He helped his followers make associations between biblical law and the law, so their hearts would be drawn to the wisdom of Torah, and they would remember it His seminal work, the Ben Ish Hai, is based on the 3-hour classes he presented each Shabbat. He'd begin each lecture with a Kabbalistic interpretation in simple language of the Torah portion of the week, and then present a selection of related practical laws. 2 important figures guided his work: Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, author of the Zohar, and Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal. Many stories testify to his greatness. On one occasion, a scholar from Baghdad visited a great rabbi in Jerusalem, Rabbi Yaakov Shaul Elishar, to request his blessings. The elderly sage responded, "Why have you come to me? You have Chacham Yosef Hayim in Baghdad. There is no one like him in the world." The extensive work of Chacham Yosef Hayim encompasses all aspects of Judaism: Torah law, Kabbalah, question and answers, sermons, parables, proverbs, and prayers, liturgic and poetry for Shabbat and holidays. His work reflects simultaneously broad knowledge of the sciences, medicine, astronomy, physics, and economics. His approach to Torah, though stringent, is imbued with love for his practice, and his followers, whose numbers continues to grow even today, revere his commitment to Torah law and the inspiration he brought to it. Incidentally, he authored over 30 books. Well, that ends my research on Rabbi Chacham Yosef Hayim, the Ben Ish Hai.
Excuse me, I would like to add a couple of things to your history behind Yosef Hayim. One, he was instrumental in supporting the financing of a yeshiva in Jerusalem that was being built by my great-grandfather, Rabbi David, and who was his uncle, in fact. And he managed to get the funding from Sir Menasseh Meyer from Singapore. And that yeshiva is still operating. The name is Shoshanim LeDavid in Jerusalem. The other issue that I would like to bring up is they built a monument for Rabbi Yosef Hayim on the eastern side of the wall of Jerusalem. and it can be seen very close by the grave of my great-grandfather, Rabbi David. Thank you.
That's very interesting. As a matter of fact, I believe, I don't know, maybe you're right, but according to my research, the funder of that thing in Jerusalem was from Calcutta.
This has been a beautiful topic. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you, Lizette, for bringing our speaker today.
Thank you so much. That's so much. Great informative information and beautiful speech. You speak
Here's
clearly,
the
everybody
set
could
of 3 books.
everybody could understand every word. Thank you so much. That was a great session.
Is the
And-
recording going to be available?
You introduced the personality of Ben Ishai so well. He is like living in our time, and he predicted how the Torah would be explained, would be understood, and he didn't impose things on everybody. He did it in a way that everybody will do whatever he understands. And he was very much avant-garde, and you represented him brilliantly. We all heard about him, but we never knew exactly who he is. And
You will
you enhanced with
permit
that our self-esteem
me
as Iraqis, and we have such a personality that guided us at a certain time in the history. It gives us a lot of self-esteem. Thank you very much for coming all the way from San Francisco to talk to us. Thank you so much. Through the Zoom and through the new technology, we are all together. I just would like to know, Dave Salem, are you his son? Are you the son of Sami?
Yeah, I'm the son of Sam, but not the bad son of Sam.
You are related.
Yeah,
What is the relation?
he's my dad, and he's the best dad ever. And I'll tell you, he blows me away. I'm surprised. I didn't know he was doing all this research. I wasn't aware that he was, and he never stops learning. He never stops pushing himself. He's just brilliant. I'm so proud.
That's so cool.
Sami Salem is the pride of our community, I should say. We gathered from all over the world to see him and to hear about his research, about his wisdom. It's a beautiful thing that, and thank you, Lizette, for introducing Sami.
Gladys, I
It's
have
a
a
lot
question.
right for us.
You
Sami,
said that,
you want to say something?
yeah, you said that the material from which this research comes was found in Saddam's basement, all the archives. Can you expand?
I don't know. Sami Sorani, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to add a few things to what Sami had said. Hakham, Yosef Hayim, wanted to go to the Holy Land to pray before the wall, the Wailing Wall. At that time, they estimated that a caravan from Baghdad to Jerusalem, it takes about 3 months each way. When he came back, why they said 3 months? Because they expect sandstorm or certain danger or bandits, so they changed their way. Unfortunately, when he came back, there was none of this. And in 1 month, he could arrive to Baghdad. And he made his calculation. He arrived on Friday, just before preparing himself for Shabbat. So he was so much excited. He wrote a poem, Yom HaShabbat, a certain point that in Baghdad, we recite on Shabbat after the finishing of the prayer. This song is sung in the Portuguese, Spanish and Portuguese, sometimes on Shabbat. It was introduced by the late Anwar Shaheen. And this was one of the things that at least we remember that rabbi and his glory in Baghdad. Another thing I want to add, Rabbi Yosef Hayim knew that a community needs a sort of communication, a sort of stories and a tradition that link them. So he wrote in Arabic, Baghdadi Arabic language, a book called Misalleh al-Awqat. And my grandfather, once we used on winter night, we sit down together, and my grandfather read some of his stories. It was very exciting stories, but I don't think if the book was translated to any language. This is the last thing that I would like to add. When I studied at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, they collected all kinds of handwritten manuscripts from rabbis that they lived in the old city, and they had to leave everything and run away to Jerusalem when the old city fell into the hand of the Jordanian. And I found a lot of these. I worked for just 2 weeks looking on these manuscripts at the Hebrew University Library. And I tell you, there are a lot of stories by rabbis that lived in Baghdad, but nobody even touched them, and nobody even think about translating them. So maybe one day, one of the researchers who is willing to study Hebrew, Aramaic, and Baghdadi Arabic to take the time to translate some of these manuscripts, and we find the wisdom of our old rabbis in Baghdad. Thank you.
And hopefully get everything digitized.
Thank you, Sami. I'd like to add, Sami Sorani will be our speaker next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Same details of Zoom, and you are all invited. Please join. He is a specialist in research about the history of the Iraqi Jews. So it is like a continuous of today's session. And I would like all of you to join next week. Okay.
Suzette has a question.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have two questions. Why is there an echo? Okay. So the first question is, did the Ben Ish Hai start a dynasty? Because so many, at least in Ashkenazi, great Ashkenazi rabbis, they seem to have descendants who are all rabbis, and they're, they become very esteemed, and then they have followers, and it grows into almost a cult. So did he leave a son, couple of sons who became rabbis, and do they have followers, and are they, following in his track at all? And the other thing is, did the Ben Ish Hai, was he the one who instituted the idea of, which was contrary to traditional Judaism, that if you can spend all your time studying, then do so. And of course, a whole lot of what I understand, a whole lot of rabbis have, taken his word as law, and so they spend their life studying. Apparently, before that, you had to spend 1/3 of your life
It
growing
was
and working, then having a
found
family, and then the last third of your
in
life
the
you study. So those are my two questions. Did he start a dynasty, and was he the one who initiated the idea of devoting your life to study?
Thank you, Gigi.
Started the dynasty.
of the
Lula.
Hi, Ellie.
around
Am I getting any answers?
which
Excuse
is
me, Sammy, you're speaking, sorry, Sammy, for some reason, we cannot hear you.
service to the invasion.
May I answer this question?
How come
Do
we
you
don't
hear me?
hear Sami Salem?
I think he's having trouble with his,
What is
Maybe
happening?
Sami Durrani will talk while he's gonna come back.
Sami Salem, we don't hear you.
Well, I'm
Yes.
there.
now
Can
we
you hear
hear
me
you
now?
well, thank you.
Now we hear you, yes. Do you want to say anything?
Well, I'm trying to answer Lisette. She wanted to know if any of the comments were about ladies in the books. As far as I know, these books contain his comments on the Torah and references to his sermons. So it makes sense that there would also be, since he was discussing life, that there would be comments about ladies and females and men and people in general.
Can I say, there was a book that I saw in the archives, and it was written Kitab Nisa, which means the book for ladies. Yeah, Qanun Nisa. And I think he was one of the first who introduced an idea similar to a bar mitzvah for ladies, something, a ritual or something. Right, Sami? I think he did introduce some kind of
Yeah, I did hear
acknowledgement.
that. I did hear that,
Yes.
but whether it's included in these books or not, I don't know.
And one more thing, the answer to Gigi, I'm sure Sami has more to add, but I have a classmate who lives in Israel, Joyce Hakham. Her name is Joyce Hakham because her father is the grandson of the Ben Ish Hai. He has a son, Jack and David, who live in London. He has family, the Juri, the Lawi family, Naim Lawi and Juri, and Salim Lawi are descendants of one of the daughters or granddaughters of the Ben Ish Hai. And of course, here in Montreal, we have Adele and Nassim, Albert Nassim. Albert Nassim is also a great grandson of the Ben Ish Hai, and I may have missed others. But in Israel, I grew up with Joyce Hakham, and she ended up marrying the grandson of Hakham Sasson, who was the Rabbi Sasson, who was the arch enemy of her father, David, Hakham David, because they disagreed about some halachic. But they made up, and they called them Romeo and Juliet because they got married, and the grandfather is made up too.
And how wonderful that this rabbi tried to create bridges between Ashkenazim and Sephardim.
Thank you, Sandra. Anything you want to add, Sandra?
I just want to say, I noticed that we have Bani Chodos of Adat congregation of Montreal.
I understand.
And she said that it was a great lecture. She's going to host me on the 28th on Zoom to speak about my father's book, about the Hebrew scriptures and the time he spent in the prisons of Khomeini translating the Hebrew Bible for his cellmates. So thank you, Bonnie, for joining us here. God bless you.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. I would like to add, I would like to welcome, like Sandra, I would like to welcome Bonnie Chodos. She is the president of the synagogue.
Sisterhood.
Of the sisterhood, yes.
Of Adat.
The synagogue of Adat Israel. And yesterday she told me that she will join us today. Thank you for coming, Bonnie, for this. And you are welcome to continue to join us in all our sessions.
I would like
Thank
to
you.
hear Sami Sorani. He wanted to answer the question of Gigi Biton.
Well, I just have a question. I heard that Rabbi Yosef Hayim was buried in the old cemetery in Baghdad. When they decided to destroy the cemetery in Baghdad, they allowed Jews that were there to go and take the body of their friends and families and bury them in the new cemetery that the Iraqi government designated for the Jews. I heard that some volunteers went to take the body of Rabbi Ishai, and they said that they were surprised that the body was intact as if it was just buried. But unfortunately, when I translated the monument of 1,000 monuments in the new cemetery, I could not find the monument for Rabbi Ben Ishai. So I wonder if anybody knows anything about that, if anyone knowledgeable that he was really buried in the new cemetery or not.
Wow.
It doesn't seem anybody knows anything. Sami?
No, I don't know. I see somebody, nobody answered the real question of Gigi Biton, which says that the followers of Ben Ishai.
But I did.
So,
No, you're talking
Well,
about just descendants, but it was a dynasty developed. Is there something like you have the Satmar movement or group, and you have community, and you have the Bur and the Bar and whatever else. So, and in Europe, you had other dynasties based on a lineage of rabbis that stemmed from an original one that was a great, Hakham, and then each generation has a son, biological and spiritual, and in terms of scholarly knowledge and charisma and everything else, he takes on the original rabbi's role. So I was just wondering if anything had formed of that nature. Is there any dynasty?
May I answer this question? Spirituality among Jews of Baghdad watered down.
At one point, I'd like to answer. Gigi asked whether he founded a dynasty. As far as I know, he is his ancestors were all rabbis. However, I am not aware of any of his direct descendants following his rabbinical endeavors.
Right. Thank you.
I have the answer. Sami, Salem is his follower. He
As
did
are
the
we all.
research.
May I add something, please?
And he is transmitting to us everything from Ben Ish Hai. What could be better than that?
Gladys,
And
Sami has some.
Sami wants to
from
speak.
all over
Sami.
the
Yeah,
world.
may I add something?
Gladys,
to hear
Sami
the
is speaking.
beautiful information that Sami Salem gave it to us. Thank you, Sami. That
You're welcome. It
have
was my
two
pleasure.
Samis here
It was my
today.
pleasure to do the work.
Sami Surani would like
For
to
what
speak.
you
Yeah.
are doing.
Yeah, may I add something? The level of spirituality among Baghdadi Jews watered down after the establishment of Alliance, and the kids find that by studying in the Alliance, they can have better future. I'll give you a simple example. In the last yeshiva in Baghdad of Slad Zilcha, at the end of the 19th century, there were about 26 students. When we left Baghdad, 1950, there were only 6 students. So there is the interest of the Iraqi Jews in spirituality went down up to a point which is unbelievable.
You are absolutely right, Sami. We saw a film by David Dangur, and he was talking about the last Jews of Baghdad. And he said that when the British came, and they showed a new modern face and outlook to modern life, the Jews of Baghdad literally said, you know, we don't need Torah anymore. we want to learn how to get along in the modern world, make business with Westerners. And Alliance actually did that. And I read that from another source also, that Alliance did had a part in watering down the observance of many of the communities all over the Middle East and North Africa. Yeah.
Can I have a question? Sorry, Rabbi Hillel Zichrono Bracha in Montreal, in our congregation, was he in any way not related, but like a lineage of Rabbi Ben Ish Chai, or his studies, or his knowledge, or something like that?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
I think that the emphasis of the Iraqi community in the 1930s and early 40s went to education.
Yeah.
That's why
Secular
they
education.
put more emphasis on learning and learning languages and being able to survive with foreigners, or they started to go on trips to Europe, to Lebanon, and that's why they weren't into religion as much as before.
Much to our loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what kept them, what made them survive. Because if they only had religion and laws of religion, whatever, they wouldn't have been able to live with all the different groups and foreigners that we had in Iraq.
You're right, but we need to keep a balance.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah,
we've learned that.
And then Israel came, and then with many different reasons why people had to move away.
Beautiful, Lydia.
I would like to mention that the whole session is recorded thanks to our David Nathaniel, and it will be on the website of the synagogue. You can all watch later again everything. The link of the synagogue will be supplied to all of you, and it is the same link for all the sessions. Viola, David Nathaniel is recording it, and Viola is putting it on YouTube. And whatever you are missing today, you will catch it up. Thank you, David, for recording and for operating the Zoom. That's beautiful. What a
David
nice
always
other-
comes through for everyone.
Lizette, bevakasha. Lizette, bevakasha. We don't hear you, Lizette.
Okay, got it. Lydia, you made a very, very good point. And I think I would add, other than the education that they had to learn, that which was very lucky, because when the British came, the Iraqis, the educated ones, were given the highest positions in the railway, in even Sasson Heskel, etc. But when the 130,000 Jews left in the Tasqit in Iraq, I think the whole the whole social structure of the Jewish community in Iraq was totally kind of they had to restructure everything. They had no more. Sorry. They had no more. They had no more shohets. They had no more rabbis, but not only rabbis, scholars, etc. Everybody, a lot of Jews, more than three quarters of the community left. So the whole structure of the Jewish community changed. And plus, I remember my mother was always afraid to go to synagogue because of the bombs they threw in 48. My mom always would say, no, don't go to the synagogue. There'll be bombs. There are bombs. They throw bombs. So it changed everything. It changed everything for, sorry. Anyway, thank you. I'm sorry. I keep getting those calls.
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, maybe you want to say something?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Salem, how was he supported? Was he supported by the community? Because at one point you said he wouldn't take any money or any salary from them. Or did he just live humbly below the means kind of thing? Do you know anything about how he lived?
I mentioned
Did
it.
anybody hear
He
me?
did not. Can I talk?
Yes.
I think I mentioned it. He refused to take any remuneration from the community, and he supported himself by the proceeds of the books that he wrote, as well as from the business of his brothers, for which he was a silent partner.
What did they do?
And he was very philanthropic in the sense that he supported many issues in Eretz Israel.
Very nice.
Very
I
nice.
have a question. I mean, different from what you just said. Were there any Ashkenazi Jews in Baghdad then?
He said it.
Well, I'm sure there must have been a few.
Because in Lebanon, we had a few.
My sister-in-law Dolly was married to the son of an Ashkenazi jeweler.
Yeah, Siegel. Yeah, the Siegels.
The Siegel family, and I'm sure there could have been a few Ashkenazis there for business reasons or whatever.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, I was interested to find out that there was an Ashkenazi scholar in Baghdad in the 1800s who was there for 11 years. And as I mentioned in the thing, he clashed with Rabbi Yosef Hayim, and Rabbi Hussein excommunicated him.
Wow.
He came from Bavaria. I don't know what he was doing in Baghdad, but he was there.
So he was sharp and determined.
Yeah.
He must have been very sharp. He was not afraid to do whatever he thought, and very open-minded.
That's a good question. Would you say that, or would you judge the Ben Ish Hai as being open-minded? I know in his sermons he was, because he introduced Kabbalah to sort of fascinate the people, and then he introduced the laws, he connected the two. But what about his interpretations and his coming up with conclusions? Do you find that he was more on the strict side or more on the tolerant and open-minded side?
Well, there's no question about it that he was very open-minded, and therefore was accepting other ideas and not necessarily closed minds. I'm aware of scholars of Judaism and so forth, especially a person in my synagogue, whose mind is so closed that he wouldn't consider anything, absolutely anything that is not mentioned in the Torah in its original. And therefore, what Rabbi Yosef Hayim, his greatness comes from the fact that he had a very open mind.
Thank you.
That's where his greatness comes.
Right.
Did his wife play a role in the community as well with him, or was she kind of on the quiet side? Did she?
Well, the whole community followed him.
Mhm.
He was revered by the whole community, judging from his funeral. As a matter of fact, I understand many Muslims were interested in his sermons.
I have a text message from my wife's uncle in Geneva, Soli Lawi, because I invited him to join, but he couldn't make it. He sent me a message saying, "I hope you will happily represent us with Carol," which is my wife, as direct descendants of Ben Ish Chai, whose granddaughter is the mother of Salim, Juri, Naim, and Musli, which Lizette had mentioned earlier. Enjoy. I had written the speech on behalf of my uncle Juri, who was at the Spanish on the same occasion and had addressed his memorial 13 years ago. I only read a few books. Do not forget he was the most feminist in his teaching, with a vision of the future 100 years ahead. So just thought I'd share that with you guys.
That's wonderful. Thank you, David.
No, thank you.
Well, as I mentioned, the session is recorded by David. So they can see everything on YouTube later on.
Absolutely.
So nobody would miss anything from this very important session. What I like in you, Salem, your speech is very, very clear, that nobody can miss any word. Thank you very much. We like all the Samis. Next week, we'll have another Sami. Our next Sami will also continue the subject on the Jews of Iraq. We appreciate that very much. We really need to know about our past because we never had that in school. Like in Baghdad, we studied about the history of Islam, but we never had enough for the Jews. And I lived in Israel, and not in Israel, not here, nowhere we had any information about our history. And the two Samis are supplying us with all the information that we need. And this will give us a lot of self-confidence, and we have to know where we belong.
I have a
Thank you.
question. Sorry,
Thank
Bob, to interrupt you. I have a question. Sami, you mentioned the manuscripts that were being published, and there was one more to go. So one thing is there a place that we can access the manuscripts online or in print? And the second question is, if people want to donate to the printing of the last manuscript, how do we do that?
I'm going to call David Zangur, and hopefully in conjunction with the American Sephardi community, American Sephardi Federation, I will have a letter requesting the funds and explanating it and sending it to the mailing lists of the various Iraqi communities in Canada and the United States.
Okay, well, at least from a Montreal perspective, if you send me something, and Sami, you have my email, contact information, I'll share it with Oren Gabay, who's now the president of the Montreal Jewish Iraqi community, and we can broadcast that information. We have an email blast that goes out from time to time.
Okay. The synagogues in New York and also have the same, and I'm going to try and coordinate something. It's already in my plans.
Wonderful.
You have a great information that Salem, that they are so valuable. I think in one session we cannot have everything. We should continue, as David Nathaniel says, in a certain way that we learn more and more from you. You did so much research and you have so much information that is important for all of us. And we will continue to learn from you. We have to learn what you learned. We want to share it with you. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm pleased all went well. I'm pleased to have met with all of you. And I thank you for asking me. And good luck and shalom to all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Week,
Thank you.
we continue. We have Sami Sorani on the same topic about our history. So we will learn what we have been missing all our life. Sami is always trying to do research and pass it to us. Now we have two Samis who will teach us, and finally we will have PhD. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sami. And there were a lot of good things on the chat. We had from Dr. Edmond Shaheen, who said he is enjoying it very much. And we have quite a few messages that from people who were happy to enjoy the session. Thank you for expressing yourself to us. And thank you all for coming. Thank you, David, Nathaniel. Without you, we couldn't be able to be together. Thank you so much. He is very busy as he is. And he offered me to conduct the Zoom because my Zoom operator is away. And David Nathaniel offered me to do it for us. I appreciate that really a lot. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it. And thank you all for coming. I thank also the Lisette again for inviting Sami, Salem, and special thanks to the office. The office is, and our, with Françoise Baboulot and her company there, all of them, they are doing a great job in helping us, especially in sending emails to everybody to know about our sessions. So we will have more sessions, as you know, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and it is the same Zoom information. Thank you all. Thank you, David, again. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sami, for joining us from San Francisco.
Gladys,
And we will continue next week.
Gladys, can I add something important?
Yes.
David Nathaniel, he read my father's book, and he said he learned a lot that he never knew before. And that ties in with what we were talking about earlier, that our past was being watered down in favor of joining the modern world. And so I really believe that perhaps my father's book can be added into the efforts with Sami Salem. So I would like to send him a copy of my dad's book because it summarizes the whole Hebrew Bible, the history and the link between the message of the prophets and the birth of the modern state. And there's also a very personal side to the story. And so I think it's a very important message.
Yes,
I have
thank you.
to go. Bye.
I recommend Sandra's book. It's beautiful.
Are you meeting?
I'm working while I do a Zoom. It's
So
about my dad's
I
book.
would like to thank you all again.
Yes.
Do you need this in color?
And would like to remind you
Would you
again, we
choose
have
to
Sami
print black and
Sorani
white when you can?
next
Yeah, I
Wednesday.
will.
Every color
us
is print
about
copies
the
cost about
Jews.
$1 versus 10 cents.
Okay. This one I'm digitizing
reminding
and I'm gonna
everybody
send this to Jesse
Wednesday.
Zink along with this.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know this is pretty, but unless.
He said, okay, I hope everybody heard me. We have Sami Sorani next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Same Zoom information. Everybody is welcome, and Sami adds a lot to our knowledge. We need Sami all the time. Thank you. Thank you, David, Nathaniel again. And with this, we complete. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you again, hopefully every Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. And bye. We can finish now.